Kama tanha, bhava tanha, vibhava tanha, idam ko pana bhikkhave. Dukkha nirod. Teruvan Saranai, and the blessings of the Noble Triple Gem be with you, Kalyanamitas, or Dhamma friends. It is a good time for us to begin the Dhamma exploration again in this Sutta study class for today. We have reserved this hour and 15 minutes for Dhamma discussion in length based on discourses, and we are going to begin it with the blessings from each and everyone. Let me welcome you all for this wonderful class again. I really appreciate your participation. It is because of the nature of this weekend, many people engage with usual life patterns, meeting people, family, visiting places of interest. That sort of things are being done. By the time, in the meanwhile, you had time to come to this Sutta study class to get into the Dharma and explore the possibilities of reaching through subtle points of Dharma by way of discussion and listening, and that is really appreciated. And those who listen to this kind of Dhamma discussion later on in the YouTube or any other media, they are also kindly remembered here, and may they also be able to arouse their energy for Dhamma practice and sustaining the Dharma. Let me begin the Sutta study for today by paying homage to the Supreme Buddha by reciting Namo Tassa 3 times. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Namo Tassa Bhagavato Arahato Samma Sambuddhassa. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Homage to the Blessed One, the Worthy One, the fully enlightened One. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Friends, the sutta we selected for today's study is from Majjhima Nikaya, first section. As you see, the sutta number is 28. The sutta's name is Maha Hatthipadopama Sutta, the simile of the greater discourse on the simile of the elephant's footprint. This is one of the famous discourses in the entire canon because of the Dharma it includes. With regard to this discourse, the first thing come to our mind is the Chula Hatthipadopama Sutta. Together with this discourse, it is recorded in the same section. And that discourse is very famous among Sri Lankan due to the arrival of Mahinda, Venerable Mahinda, and delivering the discourse of Chula Hatthipadopama for Sri Lankans for the first time, according to the archaeological and historical evidences. Chula Hatti and Maha Hatti, they are all talking about the elephant footprint. But why this Chula and Maha? In Maha Hatthipadopama Sutta, greater discourse on elephant footprint, and the shorter discourse on elephant footprint. That is because of the nature of the Dhamma, both suttas explain. If you look at the both suttas together, we can see the same thing explained in a different way. I think the way the Buddha explained, the way the Buddha and also Venerable Sariputta explained the Dharma could be different. That's why these terms come into as the title. In Maha Hatthipadopama Sutta, the Venerable Sariputta is talking about, as the preacher of the discourse, the Four Noble Truths. However, when you go into the details of the discourse, we cannot see the details of the Four Noble Truths are discussed very much, but only one factor, one line is being explained. Simply, greater part of the discourse is covered by the explanation of the four, four elements, and how one can, practice the anatta or detachment by this way of practice on four elements. And then we can see the Paticcasamuppada also explained there, and it is one of the greater discourse because of this. And if you read through the lines in each paragraph, there is a very direct message for us. So if we want to let go of the attachment and fighting nature, anger, ill will, and all kinds of trouble in us, the Venerable Sariputta has given a method for it. A lot of people ask the question, how Bante we practice Dhamma in this busy life, and what we can do to stop craving and attachment, anger in us. And could you please tell us in a simple way to do this and so on? There are such questions are always coming from different group of people. If you read this kind of suttas, actually the Dharma is being explained in a direct way. There is no hidden things in it. They are very explained very clearly. I think all the discourses for me are very clear, but some of them are very special, and some dharmas are very nice and pleasant, and the way they depicted in the discourses are very clear. So Maha Hatthipadopama Sutta is such a discourse which has a map of nirvana, map of letting go of attachment, which causes the suffering. I think you went through the link and read the discourse translated by Venerable Bhikkhu Thanissaro, or Bhikkhu Bodhi, or Bhikkhu Sujato. I think many of you heard about this discourse before, so that there won't be any any further reading for some people. Anyway, we assume that there are people who need some direct and long clarification, so that we try our best to hang on to some reading too. When this discourse was delivered by Venerable Sariputta, the Buddha was at the Jetvanarama monastery, and Venerable Sariputta, without anyone's invitation, talked to bhikkhus there, and he started speaking about this simile, the elephant footprint. Let us read that. Friends, just as the footprint of any living being that walks can be placed within an elephant's footprint, and so the elephant footprint is declared the chief of them because of its greater size. So very clear. Any animals on the land which walks here and there for various purposes, they have their footprint, and they are all smaller than the elephant's footprint. In other words, as the sutta says, the elephant footprint is the greatest and the largest one. Every animal's footprint could be included or put into elephant's footprint. So this simile is given to give a message about the Dharma to bhikkhus, and Venerable Sariputta says, so to all wholesome states, can be included into the Four Noble Truths. This is the statement, friends, to say that the Four Noble Truths is the central teaching of the Buddha. And there are other indications as well, because the Buddha himself said that all the Buddhas understand the Four Noble Truths as their team in a particular teaching. And in the first discourse of each Buddhas, they explain the Four Noble Truths as they understood at the attainment to Buddhahood. And in and around of the Four Noble Truths, they talk about the other beautiful teaching. I just want to add one thing here, that the Four Noble Truths are understood by the self-enlightened Buddhas with the spirit of Paticcasamuppada. How did our Buddha understand the Four Noble Truths? By practicing the Eight Noble Path, which is the fourth one of the Four Noble Truths. So we can, in a nice way, add one, all the teachings of the Buddha into the Four Noble Truths, just like we make a garland by taking one flower and also another one and so on. Venerable Sariputta says all wholesome states could be included into Four Noble Truths, like the elephant footprint can hold each animal's footprint. In what four? As you know, the Four Noble Truths are, mentioned there. The noble truth of suffering, the noble truth of arising of suffering, the noble truth of the cessation of suffering, and the noble truth of the way leading to the cessation of suffering. So then the Sutta explained the first noble truth with all the sub section of it. Right after that, the Sutta goes on to explain the five aggregates of clinging. As you know, the first noble truth has these things. Birth is suffering, aging is suffering, death is suffering, sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair are suffering. Not to obtain what one wants is suffering, and so on. At the end, summarizing all the suffering, it says the five aggregates of clinging are suffering. So, having said that, Venerable Sariputta explained the five aggregates of clinging from there. Why? Because Sankittena Panchupadanakkhandha dukkha. That is a very Pali word to say that in a summarized version, in short form, all the suffering is the attachment to five aggregates of clinging. In other words, if you have attachment to form, feeling, perception, mental formation, and consciousness, these are the five aggregates. There you have the birth, the possibility of birth, aging, sorrow, lamentation, dying, and all the suffering are there with the attachment to five aggregates. So that it is very clear why Venerable Sariputta directly goes to explain the five aggregates of clinging. I already told you the five aggregate of clinging, and that is what in the paragraph right after the explanation of the first noble truth. So I'm not going to repeat. So what is the material form aggregate affected by clinging? So the first aggregate is the material form aggregate affected by clinging. Rupa Upadana. Rupa Khan, the aggregate of form, and the attachment to it is, completed the whole section. So what is it? It is the four great elements and the material form derived from the four great elements. When you talk about the first aggregate, it is about the four great elements and the derived elements. This is a place where some people still should work on. I think many of those people who join with us can understand the meaning and the and linguistic meaning and the usage of all these things, but many people struggle with this. The Patavi Dhatu, Apo Dhatu, Vayu Dhatu, Tejo Dhatu. Solidity, cohesion, heat, temperature, and air. I think with these four, nobody has a problem. But when we come to Upadaya Rupa, the right element, it means what you have created in the mind based on the objects made by four great elements. For example, we can see many things from our eyes. We can hear many things from our ears. Likewise, other senses provide us their respective sensory experiences. So all these sensory experiences come into us just because those material things exist outside of our sensory, the boundaries of senses. So when we come to the definition of Rupa Kanda or Rupa, the Venerable Sariputta says four great elements. So we now know that four great elements are external. Of course, when we talk about the body, when we talk about ourselves, that is being considered as internal with regard to something outside from our body. But what we perceive through senses are great elements and they are derived elements. It means both something outside and what you already perceived and stored in mind. Perceived right now and stored in mind from long time also included. So that is what Upadaya Rupa. I have talked to you about this before as well. If we talk about the White House and also let's say Eiffel Tower, let's say Hiroshima, let's say Sri Lanka, whatever places you have already gone could be taken into your mind quickly because they are in the memory and you did not go there in person to see the particular object you are talking about, but you have a mental image in mind and it is called the Rupa in mind. That's called Rupa Sanya. Rupa image that is reverberating in mind is called Upadaya Rupa. And it happens even right now. Suppose I see the screen of the computer. So as so long I see it, I get this picture very quickly, and then there is that mental image created in mind immediately. When so soon I see it, the creation of the image of the particular thing I see also created in the mind. So it happens very quickly. That's what we learn from the Madhupindika Sutta, the Honeyball Sutta. Chakkuncha paticca rupe chupajjati chakku vinnana tinnan sangati passo. This happened very quickly. So soon, when these progressive steps are done in our senses, the Rupa is built in our mind. That's Upadaya Rupa is coming with the Vinyan. So when we talk, the four elements exist, we have different names for them in the conventional language. The chair, the cow, the building. They are with this name we don't talk about the four great elements, but from the absolute way of analyzing things, they are all four great elements. The language, the culture we practice, name them, but in reality, they are four great elements. So when I see a cow, from reality I see four great elements. So the same, the cow is built in mind as an image immediately. So now we know what is the material form aggregate by the clinging. It is the four great elements and the material form derived from the four great elements. And what are the four great elements? As you say, the earth, water, fire, and air elements in a simple term. Now, Venerable Sariputta wanted to explain the bhikkhus, the four great elements in details. Actually, when you go down, You even can see a very nice analysis with the Patichampada. So first, let's read the first one, so then we can assume that the other three are like the first one. What, friends, is the earth element? What is the earth element anyway? So now we are digging into the Patavi Dhatu, earth elements, for looking for Dhamma with it. The earth element may be either internal and external. So even though we say that we see pictures from outside, we hear sounds from outside, here Venerable Sariputta is analyzing the same body, the person's body. If I do this particular things in a practical way, I might analyze my own body into small pieces. So that's what Venerable Sariputta says here. First, internal and external. First, internal earth elements. So they are all about these body parts. Before that, there is a particular wonderful statement. Whatever internally belonging to oneself is solid, solidified, and clung to. So that is the definition for Patavi Dhatu. Whatever supposed to have as a body and solid and solidified and clung to something relevant to this body. There are 20 of them here. I think many of you know the 32 parts of the body. It is a particular meditation to break down this body, to cut the self view or the subha nimitta, the pleasant attitude, because pleasant attitude is good in the sense of living in this life, but the subha nimitta is talking about the attitudes with sensual pleasures. It is wrong. It is negative. So in order to break it down and taking people into right track, one of the meditation the Buddha recommended is the Patikula Manasikara or Asubha Manasikara. They are the Buddha has categorized this physical body into 32, and 20 of them belongs to Patavi Dhatu, the solid, earth elements. There you see head hair, body hair, nails, teeth, skin, and so forth, up to what is up to peshes. I cannot read this. Yeah, there are 20 body parts there. So this is called the internal earth element. So you consider your body, that's why it becomes internal. When somebody considers their body, they are not internal for you, they are external for you. Now both the internal and internal earth elements and the external earth element are simply earth elements. The external earth element is also understood very clearly, something solid. When you touch, you feel that solid, that's solid nature. That's why it's called solidified. Sometime some earth elements might change their prominent nature to any other elements too. For example, if you take a ice cube, it is it is earth element because you can see it, and some space has been taken for its presence, and it is solid. When you touch it, you feel it. But with the temperature, high temperature, it's going to be water in few minutes. Then the prominent nature of that is water element, not the earth elements. So that is significant. If you take a soap, so it's earth elements, because you see that solidity nature there. You can touch it, you can break it, and you see it, and so forth. But when you put into water and keep it for several days or weeks, it becomes water. It becomes it mixes with the water, and there is no solidity in it. the prominent nature of the soap would be the water element. So there are such changes in between among elements. So suppose you put water into a hot fire, you're not going to see the water anymore after a few minutes because they have gone. So the water has changed into fire. I mean, from external view of these four elements, you can the changes happen among and between the elements. So here, both internal and external earth element are explained by the Venerable Sariputta. Very important part of the Dhamma come after that. That is the relevant part for us. Now the both internal earth elements and external earth element are simply earth elements, and that should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom thus, right? So now very important part is we have to see them with proper wisdom, panyaya, with wisdom. We can see it from the various angles. Sometimes the scientists are there who have wisdom, but there are many scientists who do not have this particular wisdom. Wisdom means something special, not the knowledge. Knowledge should be there for wisdom to arise, but in some cases, the so-called knowledge does not require for some people to have wisdom. Wisdom is being able to see the truth, being able to see the basic fundamental nature of every existence, every object, everything in this universe. I think it's very difficult to give a very complete definition for panya or wisdom, but that with this kind of definition we can see what it is. Sometimes we say panya has different categories: Maha panya, Putu panya, Hasa panya, Tikka panya. So wisdom has some categories too. Simply wisdom is being able to see the truth and live with it is called panya. Here we have to see the internal and external earth elements, Patavi Dhatu, Bahir and Abhantara, with proper wisdom. Buddha has used that, Venerable Sariputta has used that word, wisdom, panya. What is that? How do we do it? This is not mine, netang mama. This I am not, nameso hamasmi. This is not myself, nameso attati. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. So with regard to both internal and external earth elements, what we need to contemplate or think or put into practice, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one sees it thus as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the earth elements. So when we practice, when we think about the earth elements internally and externally both, that this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself, something else right after happened not to us, to our thinking. We become disenchanted, nibbida. Disenchanted. Earlier you enchant, you enjoy, you like the object you say which belongs to earth elements internally and externally. But when you have that proper understanding, wisdom, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself, you cannot enjoy it anymore with sensual pleasures, because that part is gone with the proper wisdom, with that analysis. Then the disenchanted happens. As a result of disenchanted from earth elements, make the mind dispassionate. Viraga is arising there. With disenchantment, right after, together with that, viraga, dispassion is arising. Now you don't want to have passion. You don't create likeness or dislikeness on any earth elements. Towards the earth elements, you have no raga, no passion. So as people who know the Dhamma, you know, Nibbida, Viraga, Nirodha, they are the qualities of Nirvana. So with this practice, you can experience the qualities of Nirvana. Now let's go on to discussion. Now I can remember some incidents like the weaver's daughter story, and also some other stories which I can remember, but they are in the text. They have practiced this Netang Mama Nimesu Hamasmi Nimesu Attati into a greater extent. Gradually, at some point, their disenchantment or Nibbida completed. So long you practice with this Netang Mama Nimesu Hamasmi Nimesu Attati, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself, with anything. So far we have covered only the earth elements, but if you do it with any other element, any other thing you come across, you are not going to be an average person. Average people always say this is beautiful, that is ugly, this is important, this is unimportant, how can we live with this, we have to do this, we are chasing a lot of things like that in our life. That makes us average, because everybody in the world does that kind of things. But with this practice, you are going to stop the average attitudes of human and turn into a very particular person. It doesn't mean that you show up, then you pretend as you are a spiritual being. You try to hide actually from average people. You don't want to show them that you practice right Dhamma. When you practice right Dhamma, you have that attitude. Let me tell you the same thing again in another words. When we practice the Dhamma, we don't feel to say it to people, thinking that these people who do not understand the things I understand might be wrong with my qualities. So you don't want somebody else to accumulate demerits by not knowing who you are. So that, because with the Dhamma practice, what you are destroying is Sakkaya Ditthi. What you are destroying is Mana. What you are letting go of is the existence of you, me, I. You are not going to shine them among people. You are just want to do anything to to let go them off, so that you are not going to fight with anyone. You are not going to Attukansana Paramambana, which means you are not going to praise yourself in front of people and dispraise the others for some reason. So the weaver's daughter, being a very, very young girl, listened to the Buddha's sermon, just only one sermon. And she thought that this is really nice. So the Buddha is really respected by everyone. And being a young girl, I should keep the Buddha's statement in mind. What the Buddha said is about the death, immortality of human existence. The whole teaching, a sermon of the Buddha in that village where the weaver's daughter lived was about the mindfulness on death. This very young girl was thinking it over and over everyday basis, so that her mind was inclined into letting go of slowly, step by step. After a couple of years, as I remember 3 years after that particular sermon by the Buddha, the Buddha saw in the world from his psychic power, who is going to get my help today. Then he saw this young girl, and what happened to the girl? This girl is going to die today. This happened. This is early in the morning in the Buddha's daily work. As soon as he woke up, using his skill, he looked around the world. I doubt that only one he could see, or many people, but he actually selected one of those people. Buddha could have seen many people who can actually get some of them, but from my personal understanding, he selected the most suitable one and went and helped with the Dharma. So on that day, the Buddha saw this young girl and went to that village and waited until this girl come to the closer to the hall where the Buddha was preaching the Dharma. It's a very a nice story there. If you can read the Weaver's Daughter, you can see it from Google also. So you can see that the girl's father was working in the factory, and he asked the weaver's daughter to come with some threads, a ball, to be used to the machine. And the hall where the Buddha was with people was in the middle of that visit. So now the girl went home and took the basket with all the thread and other things, and on the way back to the father's factory, she stopped near the hall where the Buddha was ready to preach, and there was a nice conversation going on, and they are all about the self view and who am I and what am I and where I came from, where I'm going from here, and so on. Then the Buddha delivered the Dhamma, confirming that this girl is going to be a Sotapanna. That's why the Buddha came to that village. They are at the end of the not at the end of the sermon, at some point of the sermon, this girl became a Sotapanna with the question Buddha asked and also the answers she gave. And then she went to the father's place because she remembered that father is waiting for me. And the machine was started. It was working, and the father was in a type of tired mode, so that he was sleeping, and the daughter went to the went closer to the machine, and she got stuck with the machine. She died there as a Sotapanna. Interesting part and relevant part for us is that this girl, how she became a Sotapanna within 3 years of reflection on the life with the mindfulness on death. The content she thought was Netang mama nimesu amasmi nimesu attati. So if you continue to practice this, not just by words, but with wisdom. Remember the word, with proper wisdom. It's not just mere thinking. It is a practical application of that particular wisdom with regard to sensing, with regard to feeling, with regard to thinking. You have to add that netang mama nemesu amasmi nemesu attati. Even when you see something, when you hear something, just try your best to take that idea in mind. Netang mama nemesu amasmi nemesu attati. So that the disenchantment is going to arise and develop it further, and viraga and nirodha are also simultaneously happens in your mind, and being able to be a sotapanna or a sakadagami or anagami or arhants could happen as a result of your strength of the practice. So that is what the weaver's daughter's incident, and there are some other incidents like that. So when we practice this particular statement, netang mama nimesu amasmi nimesu attati, it works. Here in the Maha Hatthipadopama Sutta, Venerable Sariputta gave this teaching with regard to element. That's the path. But if somebody is not well with the 4 elements, just take this statement to any other meditations or any other things of life. For example, suppose you're angry, and then you can take this particular statement to get out of the anger. Dinetang mama nameso masmi nameso attati. Who am I to be angry? What is anger? Is anger self-centered or not? How this anger came to be? So with this analysis, you can see it's happened depending on something, but there is no I finding in that particular state. So it's not mind permanently. It's not mind absolutely. It is something causes and conditions. So this statement is universal in the within the Dharma, so that it could be applied for in different ways. Let's finish the first one before we go to discussion. Now there comes a time when the water elements is disturbed, and then the external earth elements vanished. Look at the way Venerable Sariputta explained. There comes a time when the water elements is disturbed, and then the external earth elements vanished. When even this external earth element, great as it is seen to be impermanent, subject to destruction, disappearance, and change, what of this body, which is clung to by craving and last but a while? There can be no considering that I or mine or I am. So Venerable Sariputta is trying to make the point very clear by saying that even this great water, the great ocean is going to dry up. And when the great ocean is going to dry to a couple of drops of water, this earth is going to be a fireball, and it could be destroyed by itself with the energy in the universe and so on. So when this happened, how could we say, I am permanent, I am existing, it's me, and so on? Excuse me. So what is the teaching there? Everything is impermanent. This earth element is impermanent, subject to destruction, disappearance, and change. What of this body which is clung to by craving and lust? But why? So if this planet Earth is going to end and the whole universe is going to change, how could we think that we are like this and that? So to be able to understand the Dharma very, very clearly, Venerable Sariputta compare our tiny body, tiny human beings to the vast object of the universe. So then if others abuse, so this is very relevant. So then if others abuse, revile, scold, and harass a bhikkhu who has seen this earth element as it actually is, he understands us. Excuse me. This painful feeling born of ear contact has arisen in me. This is dependent, not independent. So when somebody understands that I am earth elements and water elements, air element and fire element, space element and conscious element, all the dhatu are analyzed in us, particularly here with regard to earth elements, there he got abuse from somebody. He got he got a kind of hard time with other people. For example, you are scolded at by somebody with harsh words. Because of this practice he or she has, he thinks that this is something arose in my ear. I first hear it, and it is through my ear. And if there is no ear, let's read through. This painful feeling born of ear contact. So as soon as you hear some harsh words, what happened to you is having some unpleasant feeling. You are upset. You are you have now bad feeling. So that's called unpleasant. So he quickly evaluate that this unpleasant feeling in mind is because of the ear contact. It is because of I heard about it. That is right there. He can think that this is dependent, because if there is no ear, if there is no ear consciousness, this ear, the feeling born from ear is not there. So he quickly or she quickly sees the dependent theory there. This is dependent, not independent. Dependent on what? Dependent on contact. Then he sees the contact is impermanent. See, quickly he can get that very beautiful Dhamma. This contact is dependent, impermanent. The feeling is impermanent. The perception is impermanent. That formation are impermanent. That consciousness is impermanent. And his mind, having made an element its objective support, his mind enters into that new object support and acquired confidence, steadiness, and resolution. Isn't this beautiful? So look at how we need to see the impermanence of the aggregates through the analysis of earth elements, right? So when you practice earth element, this is earth element, and it is not mine, it is not I am, and that is not myself. How nibbida, disenchantment, dispassion, and cessation happens. So with that, you hear things, suppose you have already practiced that particular meditation, earth element. Now, the world doesn't know about it, and they behave like normal people, average people, and you are scolded at, you are disturbed by. They use bad words that aches others' mind, that disturb other mind. So when you hear, unpleasant feeling might arise immediately. Together with arising of unpleasant feeling, you see the dependent nature of unpleasant feeling and ear contact and all the process. There you see the impermanence of them, and then you are able to see the confidence you have, because without letting your mind stray with the feeling, unpleasant feeling and other things, you take the full control, because what you have practiced before is hanya, netang mama nimesuhamasmi nimeswata. This is not mine, this is not I am, this is not myself. Now, if others attack that bhikkhu, first the words, now we talk about attack bhikkhu in ways that are unwished for, undesired, and disagreeable by contact with various weapons, then there he understand like this. This body is of such a nature that contact with all the weapons, sticks and weapons made by irons, weapon made by various materials, missiles, whatever. But this has been said by the Blessed One. So suppose somebody attacked you when you already practice this particular insight, you think that this body is subject to this. This body is subject to get that kind of feeling. Anybody can attack this because this is made by 4 elements, including the earth elements. You quickly think what the Buddha said about it, what the Buddha instructed about it. So he says, Blessed One in his sermons advise us on this simile of the show, Hatthipadopama Sutta. If you read that discourse, you remember what it says. The simile is given here, because even if bandits were to sever you savagely limb by limb with a two-handled saw, he who gave rise to a mind of hate towards them would not be carrying out of my teaching. So in the Hatthipadopama Sutta, it is said that a person come with the two-handled saw and cut your legs, hands, ears, nose, and they part your body. Even at that particular dangerous, very severe moment, you cannot have even an iota of anger ill will for those people who cut you. If you have anger, ill will for those people who cut you, the Buddha said that you are not practicing my teaching. So that is what the Hatthipadopama Sutta says, the simile. So remind in this particular simile, Venerable Sariputta says that so tirelessly energy shall be aroused in me and unremitting mindfulness established. My body shall be tranquil and untroubled. My mind concentrated and unified. So the negative things come from outside with hitting and damaging you, injuring you is so severe. But if you are able to get the point that this body is made by 4 elements, including earth elements, you are going to have that pure mind even with the difficulty. Tireless energy shall be aroused in me. So you see that energy to hold the Dhamma and unremitting mindfulness. You are even mindful. Unbroken mindfulness is there. It is established. Your body is being tranquilized and then untroubled. Concentration is developed into highest level in your mind. So because the unpleasant experience is well taken as something something dependent on. You see the impermanence of it. You see the nature of ending of it. That's why he was able to develop these wonderful qualities of the Dharma, including mindfulness, wisdom, concentration, and so forth. Now let contact with all the weapons and things like that hit me, it's fine, because this body is not mine. It is not I. It doesn't belong to me, the person called I. So that is a whole Dhamma, I think. Isn't this what we want to do in the whole teaching, in the whole practice? Yes. When the Buddha does recollect, when the bhikkhu does recollect the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha, if equanimity supported by the wholesome does not become established in him. Suppose you are trying to think about the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha and trying to take your mind into the equanimity supported by the recollection of the triple gem, your mind doesn't establish on what you want. Then he arouses a sense of urgency. Wonderful. Sangvega. Suppose somebody is scolding at you over the phone and sending a lot of bad emails, which make you angry, and it comes you over and over. So now you are trying to think about the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, or any Dhamma like that, but you cannot make your mind otherwise. You cannot turn your mind into peace. There, what you need to do is having Sangvega. How does? It is a grace loss for me. It is no gain for me. It is bad for me. It is no good for me. That when I thus recollect the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, equanimity supported by the wholesome does not become established me. Let me tell you this in a simple word. When you try to overcome the negative thoughts in your mind over something bad outside for you, just by thinking about the Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, it doesn't work. So that you have Sangvega. What a great bad thing for me. It's a loss for me. You are not blaming those parties who scold at you. You are not blaming those parties who send you arrows and weapons. You are blaming your. Of course, you are not blaming. You think that what a bad thing, what an unlucky thing. I try my best to strengthen my mind with mindfulness, wisdom, but it doesn't work. I'm so unfortunate. I tried this, so that he has Sangvega now. When you have Sangvega, it means that the Sangvega has a meaning. The Arahants has Sangvega. It means that they have that clear understanding about everything that average people disturb themselves, so that they can stay awakened and no rush, no fighting nature at all. Sense of urgency is the best translation, as I see. The sense of urgency is for deep Dhamma, doing something great, something like that. So with Sangvega, you try again, because you tried with one thing and it doesn't work. You become you have that sense of urgency. Now it seems working. As a result, at the end, equanimity supported by the wholesome become established in you, then he is satisfied with, at that point, friends, much has been done by that bhikkhu. So Venerable Sariputta tells that try your best to practice netang mama nemesu hamasmi nemesu attati with regard to earth elements, water elements, fire elements, air elements, and so on. And over the course of this practice, you might be having difficulties that come from society, even from the bhikkhu society, bhikkhuni society. Fellow bhikkhus and bhikkhunis might give you hard time for you, because still some bhikkhus are not enlightened. So you might have issues, monastery issues, temple issues. In those occasions, try to understand your mind with the unpleasant feeling, pleasant feeling, and see the impermanence of these feelings, dependent nature of these feelings, so that you can overcome those negativities. And if that does not work, with first trying, have the dharma sangvega. I'm not living for a long time. Why my mind is not inclined to this and that? And with that sangvega, it might work. At don't lose your patience. Have patience. Trust me. Here Venerable Sariputta says, but the Buddha has told it many times. Trust on your own abilities and try over and over, and it's going to work. And if you overcome the negativity in such a way, you have done a great job in the Dhamma. Sabba Papa Sakaranang is done there. Kusalasa Upasampada is done there. Sachitta Paryodapanang is there. These three things are done by you, if you are able to overcome the negativities there. So we don't go to water elements, fire elements, air elements, because whatever we so far discuss is repeated there. The only thing is the differences of the elements, so that we don't want to go on over and over. But at the end of the discourse, there is a beautiful thing. Again, we can take the later part of the discourse in the next sutta discussion, and some beautiful Dhamma. So far, we have covered a huge part of the discourse. So, Venerable Sariputta started the discourse saying that the Four Noble Truth is the highest teaching and the vast teaching. It is the hub of the wholesome Dhamma. And then he goes on to explain the First Noble Truth. He took the 5 aggregates of clinging, and he explained the first aggregate in details. There he went into 4 elements, and each elements are explained. And he did not stop the sermon, just leaving the monk just with all the information. He actually put us into right practice. Practice this, netang mama, nemesu hamasmi, nemesu attati, with each element, and whatever things you have in mind with regard to element, there you find the way out of suffering. There you see the Patisampada, there you see how overcome negativities, and in a practical sense. So a lot of teachings are being explained. So it's close to 9 actually. So let our Kalyana Mittas talk now in sharing their experience and Dhamma. So I can see Dr. Pial has raised his hand. So take your time. You are still unmuted. You are still muted. Yeah, now unmuted.
Okay, Bante, now thank you so much. It's a nice sutra discussion. I just want to tie in another sutra here called Kajaniya Sutra. Buddha definition of, because we talk about the form element, rupa. So Buddha asked, what is rupa? I think it's Buddha's teaching that day. Rupa, rupati. Rupati meaning affliction. Affliction by what? Affliction by air, the temperature. So the body, that's why we call rupa, because afflicted by the external elements. For example, you get aging, you're dying. So rupati, rupa is an interesting definition. Sometimes we don't think about it. Why it's called rupa? Yeah.
Very good, very good. I completely forgot that particular sutta, though I keep it here. Thank you for telling us about the sutta and also the very nice definition over there for rupa. Rupati ko bhikkhave rupang. As you say, the rupa is going to afflicted by various things there, as the Buddha said, wind and the sunlight, and then the flies and various other things. So there, I think that definition is easier than this for many people, because then you quickly get into what this rupa is. It is something damaged by those natural things, and things happen to us, so that the rupa is this body. And if you want to go to a very analytical way of definition, it's four elements and derived element. But the way the Kajaniya Sutta says is very easy to understand in my view.
But the other thing is I want to point out is we talk about Netang Mama, so the kind of a practice non-self. There is not self. We don't try to cling to Sakkaya Ditthi. It is the generation of Sakkaya Ditthi. But to get through this, I think we need to understand the nature of emptiness, shunyata, because it is kind of clouding us because of our ignorance. We see something solid, so it's Gana Sanja. So Ananda, I think Venerable Ananda asked, what is shunyata? What is shunyata? Shunya is, or emptiness is empty of self. So in other words, there is no self, the empty of self. So through that, you can understand, for example, there is a body, so the rupa is empty of self. The feeling is empty of self. So the emptiness, then we could really not cling to this saying, okay, it is not me. For example, if you see the body parts put together, covered by skin, and it is a Samuha Gana, we want to talk about that. I think Gana Sanya also subdivide into Aramana Ganaya, Samuha Ganaya, Santati Ganaya, and also the last one you mentioned about the ice cube. It is a Krutya Ganaya. That is the function of the ice when it is under certain condition is solid. When it's heated, it's become liquid. Then you further heat it, becomes a vapor. So in other words, there is no, because these particles are very close together because of the conditions. Some conditions come together and it seems like solid, but really these particles are moving very close together in ice cube. But there is emptiness in between, although you don't see it. But if you keep expanding it and eventually become vapor, the distance between the particles are very, very wide. So there is emptiness. So at the end of the day, there is nothing. Even the body cells like also moving all the time, changing, breaking, and reforming. So because of these things, the body is growing, because the more cells are being generated than cells are dying. At the end of the day, when we get older, more cells die and we become like small and hunched, and so it's a fluctuation. It's a kind of a flux of things. It's within emptiness. So at the end of the day, I think that's what can get through our Sakkaya Ditthi, seeing this empty nature of self.
Yeah, indeed. It is very nice to think about the dharma of the sutta in that manner as well. Emptiness. What Venerable Sariputta here and also in the Dhamma, the Buddha were trying to tell us that there is nothing solid. As Dr. Pial says, emptiness is brought into our mind with this analysis. So when you analyze your body into 32 parts, you don't see I there, because there is no particular part like I. I is given to the combination of the 32 body parts. Then the 32 body parts, again analyzed and found two elements basically, and other two elements are also existing with the two elements. So at the end, what you find is something natural, something dependent, So you don't see self there. So that the whole process shows us emptiness, empty from self, empty from I, empty from me, empty from self, and so on. So when we say that it is empty from self, it means they're empty from ignorance as well, empty from when you come to the truth. When you come to the panya, you don't have any iota of ignorance and so on. Like so, emptiness in Buddhism is such that that there is no anything called solid and permanent and so forth. I think the whole teachings of the Buddha with the Paticcasamuppada, what the Buddha is trying to show us, that there is no anything solid, anything, is at the end it's emptiness.
So that when the conditions are there, it comes to be. When the conditions are gone, it's gone. In other words,
it's gone.
It's emptiness in between.
Yeah. Whole Paticcasamuppada shows us the emptiness.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but some people understand emptiness from different angles, from different subject. But what Buddhism, what the Buddha said is something like that.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for your contribution. I go to a chatting box to see what it is. No, it's a kind of compliment. Yes. Any questions? Any concerns like this, or any different ideas? Because we need to start analysis of ourselves based on any Dhamma elements Buddha explained either in the sutta or from another sutta, because the practicality is the key thing for us. We learn a lot of Dhamma, and unless we practice them in day-to-day basis with right thinking, we are going to lose the whole point. So that we would be able to start applying these analyses, thinking. Buddha talks about emptiness. Buddha talks about viraga, nirodha, nibbida. Buddha talks about being able to stay steady with any difficulty. So when people hear those things, they should, in my view, try to at least to sense of those things by their practice. That's how the great disciples did. If the Buddha did it, if venerable monks and nuns and lay people did it in the past, why can't I do this? So that is how the kind of energy, unremitting mindfulness should come in us. And what about Sangvega? We see our friends and family members die day after day, year after year. While we see our own aging, our time is running fast, running very fast. So Sangvega should be there about our life. That would be because even the Bodhisattva started his noble search. Why this Jara Marana is here? Why this aging is here with us? So there should be a particular sense of urgency towards the truth based on unfortunate happenings to us. So that the practice this Dhamma is very, very important. Yes, Dr. Bia.
Yes, there's no one else. I just want to touch on what you talk about Sangvega. I think this Venerable Sariputta talks about like somebody trying to contemplate, but still he does not get it, like Dhamma Sangvega. So not Sangvega of the external Sangvega, the Dhamma Sangvega. So when he then try to recollect Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, maybe it doesn't happen still. Maybe you keep repeating it, Buddha, Dhamma, and Sangha, or the Anusati. I think it's called Anusati Bhavana, one of maybe the three. And then the mind becomes serene, mind becomes settled down, and maybe you can reach equanimity at this stage of jhanas. So maybe he said, keep trying, don't give up in the first try. So keep trying. If you have that Dhamma Sangvega, you get disappointed, but it's okay. Keep trying. And then the mind might become settled. I think that's what the point, my understanding of that point there.
That's true. Yeah, try your best to do it, even though you failed one time, two times, three times. So try your best to get it. Try to make your mind calm and peaceful. And with hard work, actually, everybody can do it. You know, many people cannot come to that level of experience just because they don't try much. People need things very easily. This society provides us all the facilities to live a very sophisticated lifestyle that you don't work hard. Are we able to walk for 2 miles to get something? Suppose you have a car, suppose you have a bus. So suppose even having these things, we are not inclined to walk now. So we have all type of chairs, moving chairs turn us here and there, so that we are not able to sit on the floor now. And I'm telling you this, that material things have made us lazy, for even mundane things. With regard to Dhamma practice, we tend to find the Dharma through easy ways. My suggestion is that, and my experience that it doesn't work. We have to take challenges. We have to, it's hard, practicing Dharma is not uh, that easy if you think. It needs some dedication. It needs some sort of hard, uh, you know, uh, training for you. Sometimes you can, bearing the hunger and thirsty and all the things around us is a great practice. Sometimes I have seen this, that many people want to eat on the right time as they practice. In still days, in other days that people come, they cannot stay uh, in tune to the Dharma sermon, Dharma practice for certain period of time, because that habit, that attitude were not developed by me. So I think uh, being an enlightened person is coming to us if we put the right thing before it. And unless we have that dedication, it doesn't happen. Look at the Buddha's life. If we are to believe that he practiced all the paramitas and necessary conditions previously and reborn as the Prince Siddhartha, he could have easily, for many analysis, he could have easily attained to full enlightenment. But he was struggling. He was trying to find the right tune of the enlightenment for several years. And at the time of attaining Buddhahood, it didn't come to him quickly. He was practicing Noble Eightfold Path, and the negative things in his mind attacked so hard, so that he was, working so hard. So we think that we give dana, we do this, we have been doing this, so that we sit now for meditation, or we listen to the Dhamma, enlightenment, please come over and take me. Such an attitude is there with some people. But the thing we need to do is to keep practicing. Same thing would be the same thing is done over and over. So believe on your skill, believe on the Buddha's word, and trust on some abilities on you, so that I think we can get into. I think we have something over here. Bante, can you attain Sotapanna by being mindful during your course with this practice, without sitting on the cushion? We suppose you are in the cushion or not. If condition for Sotapanna come into maturity, it could happen. Because what we need to practice, to do to attain Sotapanna is explained by the Buddha and venerable monks very clearly. So if you look at the 4 conditions, Kalyana Mitra Sevana, association of wholesome friends, and listening to right Dhamma through them, and wise attention, Yoniso Manasikara, and then Dhammanudhamma Patipatti. With wise attention, you are going to live according to the Dhamma. these are simply 4, but when you analyze these 4, especially with regard to right attention and living according to Dhamma, they are talking about what we have discussed. So if we practice these 4, your attainment to Sotapanna either maybe either with the household activities. Why, when you take water from basket and put it into another basket, so you might click the yang kinchi samudaya dhammang sabbantan nirodha, the necessary conditions we understand for attainment to Sotapanna. Suppose you go out to the garden and see the plants and vegetables, plants, flowers, and fading of some plants. So that might be the moment you click on to cutting off of Sakkaya Ditthi Vicikicca Silabata Paraya. So at the time the Sotapanna fruition come into could happen not with regard to the particular posture we are, but with the conditions we practice for it. So that's what I can tell you for these questions. It could happen at any moment if conditions are met. Conditions are met. Yes, Dr. Pia.
Indy has a question.
Yeah, what is that?
Bhante, I just want to ask you something. Now, when people practice Samatha Bhavana, and then when your mind becomes very tranquil and very still, and then you become very equanimous, there is a state of staying there in your mind. Could you compare it to shunyata, like a moment of shunyata, or is it a...
Of course, why not? When you have that kind of mind, your mind is empty from 5 hindrances, definitely. For a certain period of time, your mind is empty from those 5 hindrances.
Yeah.
It's not a permanent state, but your mind is away. Yeah, mind is away from the attacking part of the akusala. When I say attacking part, all 5 hindrances are always damaging us. They are kind of 5 representative of all these deep-rooted craving. So they are gone when your mind is steadied, concentrated. So of course, it's a moment of type of we see that upekka, the particular word equanimity. So your mind is unified. Focus, like what the Buddha, what Venerable Sariputta says here. Let me get that statement. I'm just trying to get it. The Venerable Sariputta says here, at that point, friends, much has been done by that bhikkhu. With regard to the wholesome Dhamma, you have done a lot of things there. When your mind is steady, concentrated, and equanimity is risen there, with regard to your right thinking, you have developed a lot of kusala, which means you are in the samadhi state, you are in a state where no attacks immediately come from the akusala section, so that your mind is temporarily empty from self. I mean, not self, then the right word is some sort of akusala, because self might arise when akusala comes. So I think a type of emptiness is always there.
Thank you
Because
so much.
First, we try with dummies, we try with some sort of things. That's why Ditta Dhamma Sukha Vihara is there for jhanas. Nibbana or Nirvana, enlightenment, could be tasted well before it is achieved permanently, kind of, because the taste of Nirvana is with always jhana. So that's why we know that there are very there are unstable states of samadhi. Samadhi is still conditioned sankata, but it is important for us to hang on to the Dhamma, because if this kind of pleasure is there, how about when we reach even beyond that? That's how we encourage ourselves. So jayati, jhana is coming from the verb jayati. Jayati means atapi, similar to atapi. You burn down some sort of
unwholesomeness. So burning down of some unwholesomeness should be repeatedly done by bhikkhus and bhikkhunis and followers, so that kind of momentum arising in you for total equanimity. Yeah, I think there is a sort of emptiness there.
Thank you.
Okay, so is there any other questions from anyone else in the platform? If not, I would like to, in today's Sutta studies, we are going to take the same discourse next week with regard to the Dharma there, and also we can talk about the Kajjaniya Sutta again, because it is one of the very beautiful sutta which has the same type of Dharma discussed in Maha Hatthipadopama Sutta. So thank you so much for coming and participating in the Sutta study class amidst many things to be done at home, in the society, with friends. But you thought that participating in the Sutta discussion is important now. So I think you also accumulated some sort of higher kusala with this, in addition to merits. And may I, let me wish you with that, may you be able to attain and sustain in nirvanic experiences with these merits and also skillfulness things you have accumulated. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.